when I was at Old Town Magic, a famous trade show magician, Joel Bauer, came through, and I happened to recognize him on sight. He came in and he asked if we had Magic or Genie magazine, and of course we don't because we're a tourist magic shop. But I said, "Are you Joel Bauer?" And he did fess up to that, and two guys came into the shop that I had built a relationship with selling magic, and one of them could hear me saying, "Oh, this is Joel Bauer, famous magician. You guys should, count your lucky stars that he's here when you're here." And they asked Joel, "What should I get?" Pointing to the whole wall full of magic. Like, "What should I get?" And Joel said, "Don't get any of that crap. Take lessons from this guy." And he points to me. And I had never thought about giving lessons, but that was, again, one of those planted seeds. And so those were my very first students. And when I moved over to Twin Cities Magic and Costume, it became part of the package that I could teach classes there. And so I started doing that, and I knew I had found my calling. And so after about a year and a half, I decided I was going to go full time as a magician, performing and teaching.
When you started teaching, how'd you put together a curriculum for beginning magicians?
Well, it's changed over time, but I have always considered myself a close-up magician first, who eventually found his way to the stage. And my relationship to the stage is one where I can do a stage show, people will like it. My heart is not fully in it. Like, I am surrounded by people that love the stage more than anything else in the world of magic. And I am just not as connected to it, but I understand why they love it and what they get from it. And I know it has a whole lot to do with where you draw your power. And so theater has its own kind of collective power, the way the audience moves as one, the way that you can pause and people will wait for you to start speaking again. And close-up magic is different because if you stop talking, there's a reasonable chance someone will come in and fill the void. And so that's very disruptive. If you're used to a theatrical environment, you're not going to like close-up. But what close-up gives you is this power, because people, when they stand right next to you, cannot believe that you can still do it. They have this sense that because you are distant, because you are on a stage, that is what allows you to make things appear and disappear and whatnot. And so once you are in that kind of proximity, they've got nowhere to go. And it hits so much harder that when you go to the stage from a close-up world, you constantly feel like you're failing because it's just not killing them the way you're used to. And I've found my footing for the stage where I get enjoyment from a stage performance, but I'd be lying if I said I love it as much as I do close up. So my early curriculum was drawn from my background in sleight of hand. And so I drew up what I thought would be the fundamental sleights that anybody getting in should know. And one of the first things I found out was that what my understanding of a basic routine was well beyond what actually is basic. It amuses me because I remember being on the other side of that. I remember when my mentor John Bushy said, "Well, here's a basic cups and balls routine," and then just started telling it to me move by move, like I was just going to remember it, And it was the Vernon 3 cup routine. I still like, what was he thinking when he started? Like, I kind of think he knew that it would be overwhelming, but I know when I started teaching, and I'm like, well, here's this routine, and it was a multi-phase bit, and I could see people glaze over and not fully absorb it, and I'm like, I'm doing that thing. I'm giving them too much. And so the early curriculum that I developed changed fairly rapidly when I realized the speed at which most people are going to absorb stuff. And of course, what throws you off is there's always some wonderkin that shows up and you tell them something, and 2 or 3 days later, they've got the whole thing down. And you're like, well, see, now they did it. So I guess everybody should be like that. And the less it is, people are different.